Ladies and gentlemen, you're rocking with a GOAT. Kenn Dowell giving you motivation for growth. 2 toes down, he keep it realer than most. He do it for the culture, that's always the goal. This is Strategic Moves with Kenn Dowell. This is Strategic Moves with Kenn Dowell.
Hey, what's up, everybody? You tuned in to another episode of Strategic Moves. I'm your host, Kenn Dowell. This is a place where we bring art, culture, politics, and business all together, and we do it every Sunday right here on this channel. But when I'm not shooting this channel, I'm the owner of Strategic Resources, where we specialize in political campaigns, public and governmental relations. We've been doing it right here in Cleveland for over 20 years, and I met some very interesting people along the way, and I want to help make your next move a strategic move, and this program gives me an opportunity to do just that. So, if this is something you think you're interested in, I need you to hit that like button, hit the subscribe button, and hit the notification bell as well, so you'll know the next time when someone's coming on our program. And guess what? Today, y'all, you see what shirt I got on? I got on my royalty shirt because I got Cleveland royalty in the house. R&B royalty in the house. You know, when the music used to be good and everything was like, I'm gonna tell you, I was flashing back because I didn't tell you who this artist is, if you don't know in a minute. I was flashing back on the gentleman who was coming on, and he has one big hit song that everybody all knows. But then I put his album on because let me went through and dug him up and put on the CD. I started really flashing back on how many other songs on that album were hits to me. The one song that's the greatest, to me, wasn't the best song on that CD. To me, if you don't know, I'm going to play this little video so you'll get a chance to know a little bit about who he is.
Prepare yourself for an extraordinary evening of music. Perhaps the most innovative, unique, and energetic musical voice today. Please welcome to the stage. It's my distinct pleasure to please give your warmest welcome to the one of a kind. I present Mr.
I want y'all to make some noise for Joe Little, Cleveland. Make some noise!
Come on, y'all, let's get it.
Let's go!
Come on and do the show. Let's go. Here we go. Party. Come on. Yeah. Come on, this is party. Come on.
Yo, my name is Joe Little III, lead singer of the Rude Boys, most known for Written All Over Your Face.
You don't have to say a word. You don't have to say one word, no. What to do? It's mine, it's mine, it's mine, it's mine. Some of me say y'all ready? Here we go. Come on, Chief. Sing the song. You see that you don't have to say how much you care for me. Cause it's written all over your face, baby. Everybody in the Apollo sing. I said it's written all over your face. Around the day, baby. Yeah, yeah. And you really yeah. It's written all over your face.
Everybody in the house, let's welcome Joe Little to the program, y'all. Mr. Little, what's going on, sir?
What's up, Kenny?
Oh man, everything's great, man. We just wanted to welcome you to coming on to our program, man. This is one of the greatest opportunities for me as a podcaster and new artist out here to have someone just like you, man, because I know what you've done to Cleveland, for Cleveland as it relates to music and your career. Me and Lateef was talking just the other day, and we was talking about the song, It's Written All Over Your Face. And I know you just got back from the UK, and I really appreciate you coming here because you just got back from the UK. And I wanted to talk about how that song is almost 30 years old, isn't it?
Yeah, man, it came out in 1991.
And you still flying around the country, and people are still out there listening to that song. So, man, that's a big feat. Bill, welcome for being on our show, man.
Man, thank you kindly, Ken. I appreciate you having me here on your show.
Oh, not a problem, man.
Absolutely.
So tell us a little bit, you know, our program works out that we talk about, this is a Cleveland thing, a greater Cleveland thing. Everybody's like neighborhoods and where you started from. So, Joe, tell us a little bit about where you come from, man. You from Cleveland. You actually grew up here, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. Just from East Cleveland, Ohio.
Okay.
You know, born and raised. Went to Chambers Elementary School.
Okay.
Kirk.
Oh.
Shaw. Went to a couple other high schools, Collinwood, John Marshall. Little short stays, but I represent East Cleveland, Shaw High School Cardinals.
Oh, okay.
You know what I mean? So, yeah, but I just grew up in East Cleveland, man. You know, just a kid at the age of 40, just knew I wanted to sing and love music. Just really honed my craft and stayed in the house
Really?
a lot. Yes, my mom taught me how to use the record player, and I chose to stay in the house instead of play.
So let me ask you had brothers, sisters?
Yes, I have siblings, but, you know, I let them go outside and play.
And you stayed home and you was in the music?
I stayed
Really?
home. Yes,
So
sir.
you did, was your family into music, though?
My grandfather, which was my mother's father, Samuel Kirkwood, he was a big-time gospel singer on the West Coast,
Okay.
out like in Oakland, the San Francisco area. And, you know, kind of got my gift passed down from him through my mother and my aunt.
Okay.
And so, you know, I got a piece of that gift, you know, from him and from the, you know, the higher power.
Uh-huh.
And just been working with it since I was like 4, knowingly knowing that I wanted to be a singer and be in music.
So was your family like in the church or any of that stuff that you were singing in church or any of that kind of thing?
Yes, I started off singing in church, Temple Baptist Church, where the pastor was Reverend A.E. Campbell Jr. at 7500 Cedar Avenue. And, you know, we
Sounds out.
Just call ourselves the Great Big Family, man. So
Really?
that's where I got my first start, my first time singing in front of people, my first solo.
What was your first solo?
It was a song called I Love the Lord.
Really?
Yes, and we called him Uncle John Campbell, who was the brother of Reverend A.E. Campbell. He gave me the song, put me on assignment to learn it. You know, I went home and me and my mother rehearsed it. My mom went over it with me very carefully, and I got it down, and then the big Sunday came, got my time to shine, because that's how I looked at it as a kid.
And how old were you?
At that time, I think I was probably like about 8.
Whoa.
Yeah,
Okay.
around between 8 and 9. Yeah, about 8 and 9 years old. Yeah.
Wow. Was you scared?
No,
No. Really?
absolutely not.
So you knew this is what you was going to do?
Oh yeah, absolutely, man. Just as a child, you know, I used to sing, and people would look at me like, "Wow, okay, you sound good." And so I kind of knew that I was on the right path, and so I just continued to practice at home, listen to records. And I've studied all the greats, whether it be through gospel, 70s soul, country, pop.
Who was your inspiration?
Stevie Wonder, of course,
Yeah.
who's my favorite. Frank Sinatra is another singer that I love dearly. Gospel-wise, I was listening to James Cleveland back then, but vocally James Moore. And then, you know, was listening to Commission and the Wine is Gospel, and then really took on the John P. Key. We became really great friends. So,
so you know him?
oh yeah, that's Uncle John, man. That's my guy.
I like him. I around that time, like you say, man, I started listening to John B. Keaton and also, so yeah.
Oh yeah, I studied him extensively. So those are some of the people that I studied over the years. That's
Did you sing in high school, and were you with the guy at the talent shows and all that stuff?
everything that I can get involved with. So really started off at church, and then I got my second opportunity outside of church, because I sang there consistently. When I got to kind of like when I went to Euclid Park Elementary, I had my first music teacher who inspired me was a guy named Mr. Elleridge. You know, at the time he's a white guy, and we studied a lot of pop songs. You know, songs like "Summertime," "The Man That Shot Liberty Valance," and just a lot of like pop culture songs. And so there, you know, I felt comfortable because I really love pop songs. I Used to watch all the black and white movies and watch Frank Sinatra, who was one of my favorite, Dean Martin, people like that. I love big band, man. That's one of my favorites. I actually did some big band tunes. I remade some Frank Sinatra songs. Nat King Cole, I remade some of his stuff. And, and I really had a lot of fun with it. That's real singers music.
Exactly.
You can't play with it. You got to hold your notes right. Right. You got to really do it properly. So, I love that. And it conditioned me and showed me, like, everything ain't all the bells and whistles you need. You just need to have a great tone, textures, and breaths.
So you sung your way through high school pretty much, and was you in the groups there? Was you a group of guys singing, or you was always?
Nah, just a solo artist.
Really?
Just doing all the different talent shows around Cleveland. I was part of every talent show that you can name. I made it be known that I wanted to come and I wanted to win. So I was very, very confident young man. Didn't think I was better than other people. I just knew that I was good, and I understood that I really wanted to make it. I wanted to, grow up to be accomplished when it came to music. I wanted to win awards. I wanted to win number one. I wanted to have number one hit songs.
That's where you was going.
Right.
That's what you wanted to do.
I ate it, slept it, and all that other stuff that come with it.
So when did you get to that point where you knew that, all right, I'm going to be getting into this group with the Rude Boys, and maybe I'm going to go down that path?
Well, I started off, me and my best friend, Mark Jenkins.
Okay.
We still best friends. Been knowing him since he was 5 and I was 6. We would always just practice singing together. And so my first taste of singing with someone was with my friend Mark.
Okay.
We had a song called I Really Love the Lord that we sung together in church at Temple. And so we was kind of like a team, but I didn't really look at it like a group.
Okay.
Next, I met a guy named Edward Buddy Banks, who would become my 1-2 punch with me with the Rude Boys. I met him at Temple Baptist Church, him singing. And when this dude opened his mouth, I was like, wow. Like just blown away. He was really great. I never heard nobody in person other than James Moore sing in person that was just on the level of a true vocalist. And so I tapped in with him and just was like, hey man, I want to get with you and I want to sing. I want you to teach me some of the ropes and train me. So we got together. So we end up putting together a gospel group called Power, which consisted of Buddy, Mark Jenkins, a guy named Eric Davis, and myself. And we started rehearsing and we went around to different churches singing as a group. So that was my first group that I sung with, was a group called Power. We actually started off singing at this place called the Your Alternative. That was up on Kinsman, that a guy named Sonny Jones had opened up. It was a gospel nightclub. His daughter's name is PJ Jones. She works at 107 and 93. And so we started off singing there, and then we went to a host of churches and sang together. But we soon converted.
So how when you say that, an artist say that, what was the conversion?
Well, Buddy had came to me and he was just like, man, I want to do R&B. And so he was just like, he was.
Before then, you really didn't think about doing R&B?
Yeah, I did. I mean, I sung gospel because it was a way of life for me. I came up in the church, but no, I sung plenty of R&B. I sung more R&B than I did church music. But it was about even. I say it was even because I studied gospel music a lot, but a lot of the R&B legends I studied heavily. So
when you guys were, and we'll go back there, but when you guys were doing the gospel tours, and the thought process was to maybe take a career in building a gospel career in singing, was that in your mind, or was you just really just trying to figure out your way through it before I decide which path I was going to take?
I wanted to be R&B.
You knew all along I wanted to go R&B?
Yeah, I knew all along that I wanted to be R&B. I mean, that's what I wanted. But I was truly inspired gospel-wise because along the way during my gospel days, the guys named Jodeci, they were a group. And KC, they would call Little Cedric and the Haley Singers. And that was so that's KC and JoJo. They were part of that group. And then years later, I seen them part of Jodeci.
Exactly.
But so it just go to show you a lot of the '90s groups. I don't want to go too far ahead, but most of us are like from the church.
Correct. Because
And
Jodeci and them, they were on the guy's album before.
Father MC.
Father MC.
Doing
Correct.
treat 'em like you want to be treated.
Exactly.
Right.
So yeah, that you're totally correct about that.
Yeah. So I always wanted to do R&B, but gospel was, I don't want to say a stepping stone, but it was just where I started at, and I really love the gospel music, especially when the contemporary era came, when the Winans came,
Right.
Commission, and
Gospel.
stuff like that.
The gospel is the core, man. I
Oh,
mean,
yeah,
it keeps you grounded. It's good music.
Oh yeah, no.
So you say, did you take a chance and get out here and do some R&B?
Buddy came to me. He was like, "Look, man, we need to start a group, and this group, we need to call it the Rude Boys." And I was like, "The Rude Boys?" I'm like, "Where you get that from?" He said, "Off a button on Prince's jacket on the Controversy album." He said, "Man, I just think Prince is calling out for me to start a group called the Rude Boys." That's just how he said it, man. And so I'm like, all right, because at that time, man, I really looked up to Buddy. I loved him. So whatever Buddy said, I was like, all right, man, whatever. He was just like the leader, as far as vocally teaching me how to do stuff. So I was like, cool. And so Buddy, my best friend Mark Jenkins, and a guy named Blackie, we call him Jeff Rozier.
Okay.
We started a group called the Rude Boys, and Jeff Rozier had a studio on the west side built in the basement of his house, which was the first studio I had never recorded before.
Wow.
And so Jeff had the opportunity for us to come in and write and use his studio. So for the very first time, we went in and we recorded a song called All the Love I Have for You, which me, Buddy, and Mark wrote. And it was the first time I got to hear myself singing. And so we was really trying to start the group. It was the start off. But we was just trying to really write some songs, get some stuff recorded. We took some pictures and I was trying to get it going on. But then there was another transition that soon came after that.
So when you say that, and you had songs already you had in your mind that you wanted to write, how do you write a song, man? Let me just, you got, people will say, I just wrote this song, man. Where do you get the inspiration to write a song? Like the song, your first song you wrote, what was your inspiration when you guys say, we're going to write this song? You remember how y'all put that together?
Buddy played a track, and I just started writing a song. I've been searching far and near for a love that can't compare to the love that I'm giving. Girl, you know my love is real because I'm expressing the way I feel through this song that I'm singing. So that was the first song that I ever wrote to music, and it was called All the Love I Have for You. And so, it was just natural because as a kid, I used to write songs, but I didn't have any music. So this was the first track that I ever had a track to write to, And then soon after that, Buddy did another song, and I wrote a song called This Love that would become one day on our second album as the Rude Boys national, worldwide. And so at that time, I was just writing, what I felt, what came from inside.
What came from inside, wow. It's sort of like poetry a little bit, huh?
Absolutely. I've never been a poet, but when I look at songwriting and the lyrical content, I see that it is poetry, especially when you try to make it rhyme. So a lot of the songs over the years I wrote, it was all about the rhyming because, of course, I come from the initial hip-hop era.
Okay.
And I love rap music, And so I was just like, okay, well, if I can make a nice, dope song and just make it rhyme a lot.
Okay.
And say some stuff, some use of metaphors and different things, it could come off good with the R&B. So I concentrated really on rhyming within my song.
Was it within your song? So what was the next transition then, you said?
So the next transition, we made some moves with the first Rude Boys, but then the second part two was a band, and so we constructed a Rude Boys band, and so it was a Buddy and myself, and we picked up a new member and Melvin Cephas. We had a guy on drums named Rick Scoville. We had a guy on bass named Kyle Morris, and we had a guy named Troy Henderson that played keyboards, along with a guy named Bud Philpotts. And we were the Rude Boys still. And so therefore we put together a band. We started rehearsing in the basement of Kyle Moore's house in Cedar Brook in East Cleveland. In Cleveland Heights, right around the corner from your daughter's school, the Heights Tigers. You know what I'm saying? So we was over on Cedar Brook practicing in the basement daily. And then another transition came where Bud Philpotts, he left, and we picked up Larry Marcus, who would become, you know, the guy that was instrumental in like really getting us to do original songs and writings and singing. And so we would go to different clubs and bars, and we would be singing and, you know, have our band going. Which in those days I really wasn't singing a lot. It was really more so Melvin and Buddy.
Really?
You know, I was playing keyboards on the part. I used to have one song I played, a Babyface, I Love You, Babe. And I'd get on the keyboard and play my little bass line. You know, but other than that, I was kind of like a background singer, have a little leads here and there, but Buddy and Melvin were mainly the lead singers.
So how do you determine who's the lead singer in a band?
Well, then, I mean, I felt as if I could be a lead singer, but these guys, they were entertainers. So they knew more about the staging and the styling.
Okay.
And so I was really like a stand-up, straight singing guy. So I really was learning. And be getting groomed to become, you know, the lead. But what happened was is Larry Marcus took me up under his wing, and I would go over to his grandmother's house on Miles. And he had a nice little 4-track, 8-track setup. And he had songs he wrote, and he would want me to sing it. And so, I mean, I was like, well, what about Buddy and Melvin? He was like, nah, man.
He liked
said,
their tune.
He was like, your voice.
Your voice,
he said,
your voice.
I need you to sing these songs. And so, therefore, you know, I would go over Larry, which we call Bingo, house, and we would just, I remember a hot room was hot as hell, man. And we would be sweating. I'd take off my shirt and just get busy. He would teach me the songs, and I would sing it. And he developed me as a lead singer recording-wise.
Wow.
So show-wise, I was still like, because we didn't have our own songs. We were singing cover songs.
Right, I guess, right.
So, you know, cool. But all along in the back room, I'm doing all the originals, you know, setting the tone.
Okay.
You know, and so that's just how it started. And so as we went on, we eventually started doing our own songs that Larry wrote. And he had a guy named John McCurley who was going to back us and put some songs out. So we did a song called Rock That Booty Right. we had a song called You Know You Must Know Magic. Those are like the 2 first originals that we had as the Rude Boys. And we was going to put it out, but some unfortunate things happened. And we wasn't able to put it out. We were all set, ready to go to the radio with Lynn Tolliver and everything, man. But
Rock
it
That
didn't
Booty
come out.
Right.
Yeah, Rock That Booty Right.
How did Rock That Booty Right go, man?
Rock that booty right, roll it to the left, shake it all around. Yeah, so
Yeah, you know, you might have to revisit it.
Nah, man, I ain't gonna do nothing like that.
God.
But it was funny, and You Must Know Magic was a song about a girl that was like, had like cast a spell on a guy.
Really?
Yeah, and it was just like, you must know magic, you know.
Now that sounds like it might have something going.
That's kind of cool.
Yeah,
It's corny though, man, nowadays. But back then, it was hitting, you know. But it could probably be reconstructed in a way where it could be put out. So, you know.
Give it to the Migos.
Yeah. And so that's what we did. Right. So that's what we did. We started doing our own songs. But yet and still, we were still gigging and doing, you know, down in Akron and Canton and up in Cleveland and different places, Dayton. We would be doing, you know, little clubs and bars. You know, they call it Chitlin Circuit.
Yeah, the Chitlin Circuit, right.
And so that's where it was. We were right there. And then another change came.
Uh-oh. This is the big one, right?
It's the big change.
Okay, how did this one? I was waiting next, so how did that one go?
This is unbelievable, man. I mean, you know, Ken, all my life, man, I used to tell my friends, you know, outside and at school, that one day I was going to be, you know, I was going to make it.
Right.
And I was going to win awards, and I was going to have #1 hit songs. And, man, they would laugh at me, you know, and then they would be laugh at me because they'd be like, Joe Little can't come outside. I'd be like, I don't want to come outside. You know, I want to be in the mirror practicing. And,
right.
You know, just at the record player, studying and singing and learning songs. And so this next change was like really surreal. So in the time being, I left home early. I left home early because I just didn't want to. I was really being just disobedient. I didn't want to go by my mom's and my dad's rules. So I left home while I was in high school.
Okay.
And a guy named Levi Massey took me up under his wing and kind of groomed me the rest of my teenage years. But during that time, I was still running around with Buddy and initially, you know, doing the gospel group with Power. And so it circled back around to
So,
where.
because I'm a nosy
Go
Negro,
ahead.
and this is my show.
No problem. This your show, bro.
So you left home
Mm-hmm.
because we get to that point. I
Absolutely.
understand. You left home, but you still stay grounded a little bit because you say you were still doing the religious stuff. So you were still
Yeah, but Ken, I was in the streets too, bro.
Yeah.
So I was in
so
the streets.
the music was kind of
the
keeping
music,
you.
I
was
never let
keeping,
go of it.
and that's
I
what was
kept
keeping
it.
you in the spirit.
It kept it, but I was in the streets,
Right.
drug peddling, selling drugs,
understand.
getting involved in
I understand.
gangs and stuff.
Understand.
But I still kept my core values. It's
Right.
still music. Still,
You had some
was a
center.
thing. Yeah,
Right, and that's
music
what
still
kept
was
you.
my thing. And so this next step that came was like surreal. So during this time, I met a guy named Eric Nolan Grant,
Okay.
who now is in the OJs.
Okay.
But at the time I met him, he was singing background for Dennis Edwards, who was one of the lead singers of the Temptations. So I was really blown away. I'm like, wow, you sing background for Dennis Edwards? And I'm like, this is like the first time I'm subjected to someone that's really connected to the industry. And so, he would always tell me, man, I know Gerald Levert and I know Levert, the group Levert and the OJs. And the OJs, they managed a group that I'm with now, and, Walt, Eddie, and, but I know them. I'm like, Levert? Like, oh, okay, cool. And so another point in my life is the gong show scene.
Right.
Which I discovered with Eric. He showed me, going to places, the competition, they put up the numbers. It was a lot of bars that had the gong show.
Going
So I
on
would
in
go-
here around.
Yes, man.
Really?
And so that was a whole nother circuit. This was after my talent show circuit. I went and started singing around adults,
Okay.
which was a whole nother level. So when I get here, I'm like, whoa, these people on another level. I'm just a teenager singing in
Right.
talent shows, standing up. You got guys dropping on their knees and doing all this stuff. Guys like Tony Taylor
Right.
and Leroy Simmons
Right.
and like all kind of different singers that I was seeing. Reggie Walker from Glass Tear. So I was seeing these guys and I'm like, whoa, this is a whole nother level.
Right.
But it taught me. So within that, Eric took me to The Reason Why. It was a club on
Reason
Shaker
Why.
Square,
Right.
owned by Ron Bolton, one of the Cleveland Browns, and his
Yep,
wife
yep,
Kuja.
yep.
And he would take me there. And so there, on a certain, I think it was Thursday nights, Evelyn Wright, the jazz singer.
Still singing.
Yes, would be there. And so Binky introduced me, Eric Nolan
Yeah,
Binky,
right.
introduced me to Evelyn, and she would let me come up and sing with her.
Wow.
So I used to come up on Thursdays, look forward to it.
And
come up
back then
sing.
she was a big deal.
Oh yeah, she was a big deal.
She was a
but
big
this
deal.
reason why it was a big deal because when I go in here, there's a bunch of grown people to
Right,
me.
right.
And they like people, and then they having people come sit in and sing, and I'm like, wow, man, this is. So I'm learning, man. There's some great singers. And I find out that like, yeah, I still got more work to do.
Right.
So in that time, it was the same time I was in the Rude Boys and we was gigging. So one night I told Buddy, I was like, man, you should come up to The Reason Why, man. They be going. They be jumping, man. There be a lot of people up there singing. I said, you probably know everybody up there. And they be mentioning your name. Man, you should come up there with me. So one night, Buddy came with me. He met me up there. And Evelyn let us come up there and sing. And so we up there singing this song called Everything Must Change. So at the corner of my eye, I look on the steps that they used to go down, and I see Gerald Levert. And I'm looking at Gerald. I'm like, damn, to myself, that's Gerald Levert. I said, hey, everybody, here, we got Gerald Levert from Levert, man. Gerald, why don't you come up here and sing with us? And Gerald looking like, dude, who is you? But see, what's crazy, before I get to the story, I had met Gerald like probably a year before that because Eric took me up to the Levert Mansion. And I'll never forget, they had Casanova out. He was like, man, they up there rehearsing. Come on, I'm going to take you up there. And so I went up there, and I never forget, it was a side door to the mansion. And I stood in the door, and there they was.
Wow.
I'm looking at these guys like, that's Levert. And I'm like tripping. So the rehearsal end, we come out, Gerald come out, and Eric's like, man, this is my little brother, man. Gerald, meet Joe Little. And I started cracking jokes on Gerald. Gerald, like, man, where you get this dude from? Where he come from?
Jokes on it.
I started cracking I was wild. Man. I started just, being real familiar with him, like I knew him and just talking and saying stuff and cracking jokes. He's like, man, where you get this dude from? Like, man, gone, like that. So this is my second time seeing him, right?
Okay.
And so I don't know if he remembered me from that time, but I'm
Okay.
like, Gerald, come up. So Gerald came up.
Oh.
And we sang. We sang Everything Must Change, man, and we blew the spot up, dude.
You and him.
Me, Gerald, and Buddy.
Wow.
We blew it up. And so afterwards, he was like, yo, man. He's like, man, y'all brothers can go. He was like, man, I want y'all to meet me tomorrow, man, because I want to hear some more, man. I want to work with y'all.
Really?
And
Just
dude,
like
when he
that?
did that, dude, the inside of me was just overwhelmed. I could not believe it. Dude, while I'm telling you this story right now, I'm just reliving it, and I could still feel the feeling that I had at that time. And so I couldn't sleep that night. I went home. I'm walking across the floor like, man. And so the next morning came, and I'm like, you know, we ain't got no cell phones back then or nothing. All I got is a pager.
Right.
And I'm just like, I called Buddy on the house phone, like, man, come on. We got the address. Meet me up there, you know, at the house. So we get up there, we meet. We get to the door, knock on the door. A guy named Andy Gibson comes to answer the door, who would be the president of Trouble Productions, we would learn. We went up these stairs and went to the right, hooked in, looked in the room, and Eddie Levert was sitting there. And I'm like, this can't be real. I'm instantly nervous. For the first time in my life, I'm nervous.
You know, while you was telling this whole story, I was thinking about Gerald, but I always was thinking about Eddie. I was like, Eddie, in my mind, I was like, boy, I guess this was how it must have felt to me, Eddie Levert.
Man, I can remember as a kid in front of the record player listening to Brandy. That was my favorite OJ song.
Right.
But I knew about them, of course, because like I told you, I studied the greats as a kid.
Right.
So I done seen them on Soul Train.
Right.
I done seen them on the awards and on TV and in books. And so I'm looking at this dude, and I'm like, dang, he little. I thought he was a big dude.
Nah, a little dude.
He was a little dude, and then he was like, hey, how y'all doing? Come on in. And so Gerald's like, Dad, these the guys. And Gerald was like really excited.
Really?
I'm like, dang, man, damn. He was like, Dad, these the guys I told you about last night, man. These boys could sing, right? And so he was like, all right, let me hear what y'all got, man.
You sound
And then,
like
man, I've been around them guys forever. He was like, yeah, man, you know, yeah. And so right before we got ready to sing, a phone call came, and it was Steve from Troop. They had just had a #1 hit, Mamacita, that Gerald and Eddie wrote. And they was on the phone like, Gerald, Eddie, thank you, man. We appreciate you.
So
Our
they
song
wrote
just
that
went
song?
Gerald, Mark Gordon, and Eddie Levert wrote Mamacita for Troop.
Really?
And I'm there on this day that this guy's calling, talking about, we just got a #1 record. Thank you to y'all. And I'm like, oh, yeah, I'm in the right place.
Oh, yeah.
I'm like,
And you there with Eddie Levert, man.
And I'm with Eddie.
I
Listen,
mean,
I'm there with Eddie Levert.
Come on.
Gerald Levert. And Troop just called talking about thank you for writing the #1 hit song.
Right.
I'm like, hey man, this is it.
This is it.
And so we went, we sang. I sang first, and I sound like crap to me.
What did you sing?
Man, I think we sung Everything Must Change, the same song.
You
that we
try to
sung
go
that
right
night.
back again.
We went back at it, and I sung it, but I was nervous. My mouth was dry, and my
Did
throat
Gerald
wasn't
try to
clear.
sing it with you, or he told y'all
No,
to
Gerald
sing?
just wanted us to sing
wanted
for
y'all to
him
sing.
and his father.
Okay.
And so, I mean, to me, I guess it was good enough, but to me, I felt like, oh my God. So Buddy came and knocked it out the park. He did his thing, and he's like, Dad, I told you, man, what you think? He's like, they all right. He's like, man, Dad, man, whatever, man. He said, man, I'm working with y'all, whatever.
Really?
And the rest is history from there, man. I started hanging out. So I started hanging out with Gerald more. I started rolling up on the spot like, yo, what's up? And he's like, this dude. And he's like, I was like, man, you don't remember me the first time you met me? He was like, man, that is you, ain't it? He's like, man, you an adamant little dude, ain't you? Because once you done told me we down,
Is
you
it?
gonna see me.
You say next morning. You like
they
when we
right.
start.
So they had just got the 90. They just got the studio on 93rd and Way.
Okay,
And
right.
so I used to pop up at the house, go, you know, like, what's up? You know, he like, all right, what's up, man? And so I never forget, man. And this before we even came out. One night before we even really started working. One night I came up, and it was tour buses out in front of the big mansion on South Park and Lee. So I'm like, man, I'm like, where y'all going? He's like, man, we going on tour. We on a tour with Karen White and Bobby Brown. I'm like, man, can I go? I want to go. He's like, come on. I said, but I ain't bring nothing with me. My car is here. He's like, man, look, park your car in the driveway. He said, man, when we get to where we going, I'll give you some money and you could just go shopping and buy you some clothes.
Really?
I jumped on the tour bus, and there I was. I was going on
So
tour
you was
with Levert.
missing A.B.
Got to see Bobby Brown,
Wow.
like, you know, all that. Like, it was crazy. Like, I was like, okay, cool. So, you know, that was my first experience on a tour. Just, Gerald told me to just, hey, man, park your car, bring your keys with you, and, you know, when we
So what
get
did
to
you
this-
do?
I parked my car in the driveway.
I'm talking about when you was on tour with them.
No,
they was just
watch.
singing, just watching them.
I mean, I was just out in the atmosphere. I was on a tour bus. Never been on a tour bus before with beds on it. So I'm like, this is the life that I'm about to have. You know, so we go to Virginia. I never forget, our first stop was Roanoke, Virginia. And we stopped in Virginia, Karen White, Vert, and Bobby Brown, and I think MC Hammer. Yeah, it was Hammer too, right? Yeah. And so just out there getting the feel, I'm like, wow, this is amazing. I never experienced nothing like this in my life.
How was Bobby Brown? Was Bobby chilling back there and
Bobby
get cool?
Brown, man, you know what? Bobby Brown is probably pound for pound. He set the tone for R&B male artists.
Back then, Bobby was rocking.
He's the man. I mean, he the king of stage, man. No matter what, like Bobby Brown, his swag, his everything that he brung as a male R&B black singer, he set the tone. Like when you look at Chris Brown and you look at Genuine and all the different entertainers that dance on stage when they singing, you know, that's Bobby Brown, man. He the godfather, bro.
Yeah, Bobby, yeah.
He the king of stage. And swagged out. He the man. You know, he came out, that first album, Don't Be Cruel, came with hit after hit after hit after hit.
Yeah.
He just had the right ingredients, so yeah. So that tour was great, and I came home, and we just started working on the album. You know, the Rude Boys, we started working on the album with Gerald. And so during this time, I'm in the streets. I must say, you know.
Why are you working on the album?
Oh, on the album. And I'm working for the city of Cleveland. You know
Really?
my mom had got me a job working as a custodian for the city of Cleveland.
Really?
And I actually was working at the police headquarters.
Oh, jeez.
Right. Exactly. Of all places. So, you know, but really working hard on the album, being focused. I don't know how I juggled it, but I never gave up on the music, and we really was putting together a great product.
How long did it take you to do that? Was that
It was a while.
A year?
It's like
a little less, a little
about
more?
a year and some change, because at that time, during the time when we got close to finishing the album, and not let me forget about Dwight Thompson. So let me scale back, because I don't want to forget about my guy. Gerald, when he said, I want to sign y'all guys, let me get back to that story.
Okay.
We got a group. He's like, I ain't interested.
Oh, well, you know what?
I had to scale back.
You do got to go back. You're exactly right.
I had to go back.
Right,
so,
right.
You know,
because you didn't. It was just you guys.
It was just me and Buddy. He was like, I'm not interested in nobody else. I'm interested in you guys. I was like, but we got a group called the Rude Boys, Gerald, and we got, you know, a band. He like, a band? I'm like, man. He's like, man, I ain't know.
Oh, he thinking.
Like, no. I said, we got Larry, Marcus, and we got Melvin Cephas. Them is the other two group members. But we did have a band, and we were a band, bro.
Right.
But you know, Larry had already we had started doing the originals. So we were like grouping up in that way. So I finally talked Gerald into it, like to meet them. I'm like, man, you got to meet these dudes, man. I can't lead them. And so he met with him. He's like, all right, man, cool. I'm going to put y'all, we going to have the four. He said, but y'all need to add another member. I want to add Dwight Thompson. You know what I'm saying? Because back then at that time, light-skinned guys was in. You know? So he wanted to put a little flavor in the group. Plus his brother Russell Thompson that played the sax was playing for Levert. And so he wanted to put, you know, Dwight in the group.
So he building it up.
He building up. So then that's where we started. But then soon as we went through the project, Dwight wasn't in the group anymore, you know. And so it was just back to us four.
Okay.
And so we worked really hard on the album, getting close to get it done. I called a case, called a drug case. Yep. And so I end up having to go to the penitentiary for a few months.
Really?
Yeah, man. So here I am. I'm just like, oh man, I done blew it.
So what you do, man? You got busted.
Drug trafficking.
Really?
Got sold drugs to an undercover cop.
Oh.
And you know.
And you only got a couple months. You got
had me on video talking and everything. Had me talking about me singing and all kind of stuff, man.
Oh man.
Yeah. So I didn't
look.
say nothing for a long time. I said something to Larry. But one day we in the studio and Gerald came to me. He's like, hey, man, I need to talk to you. I'm like, what's up? He's like, the streets talking, man. I'm like, the streets.
Damn, he had to find out that way.
He was like, yeah, man. He said, I heard you got a case, man. You might be, you know. I'm like, dang. He's like, man, why you didn't tell me? I was like, well, you know, Gerald, I didn't want to lose the deal. I didn't want to lose everything I was going. And you know, I had a little tear coming down my eye, just like, man, I don't want to lose out on what we doing. And he was like, man, you should have just came and told me, man. He's like, no, I love you, man. You like my little brother, man. he said, we got to just see what we could do. So I got a lawyer, and Gerald kicked in, and my mom, my pastor from my church, Reverend Campbell. And, you know, when I went to get sentenced, they still wanted to send my butt up.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Because it was undisputedly that I did it. It was my first, you know, first offense. Right. And so I end up getting sentenced initially 3 to 5 years, man. Woo. Yeah. But my lawyer told me that if I went, there was some ways that they could work some things where I could get super shock probation. And so I went in. My first visit was at Mansfield Penitentiary, the old one. And then I got transferred to Pickaway. And it was a total of about like 6 months, something like that. Gerald he waited. It's like, and my judge let me out. No, it was a little bit less than that. I got out after 4 months. I got this, what you call super shock probation. Judge Jose Villanueva, who I'm always thankful. Yeah. I'm so grateful to this day that he believed in me. I had to write him a letter and this and that, and my pastor wrote a letter. And I'm thankful to, I always say, if you out there somewhere, Jose Villanueva, Mr.
I think he retired.
Judge, yeah. I said, man, just thank you for the opportunity. And so when I got out, the album was mixed. Basically, they was like, hey, man, after a couple weeks, you know, I had probation. They gave me 5 years probation, bro. Yeah. But they had special stipulations where I could go. And
because they knew what you were doing.
Yeah, they knew what I was doing. And so we were off to New York within 2 weeks of my release.
Wow. And Gerald waited for you. Goddamn.
He waited for me, man, and I'm thankful for that, you know. Now, I will say the guys wanted to go on without me now.
Oh, you know they did.
Oh, they did. Yeah, he's like, man, nah.
He
told him, nah, dude.
And you were the guys who hooked him up.
Yeah, he was like, man, we can't go nowhere without Joe. That's the guy.
That's
you know?
wow.
That's the guy that's gonna guide and lead us and take us to where we need to go.
And you still wasn't the lead singer.
No,
right?
at this time I was.
But at this time, now you are lead singer.
We did the album. Okay. Well, Larry always knew that he wanted me to be the main voice of the group. Okay. So once I got with Gerald, built my relationship with Gerald, I mean, it was just my tone, I guess. My voice was the main voice. Buddy, much better singer than me, like cold. But he was a lead singer, but not a lead singer that can like set the tone, set things up. He's just a guy to like take it away. But you got to have somebody that's going to have a foundation. Yeah, you got to have somebody that's going to be the foundation. Yeah. And so therefore I became the main voice of the Rude Boys, like even with the backgrounds, mostly, you know what I'm saying? And so we were off to New York, you know, to go do our photo shoot and our first video. They crammed it all together. Wow. You know.
I looked at that first video. I looked at the video.
Come on, let's do this, man. Stop. Stop it.
I was looking at the video.
Ken, what did you say? What you say, Ken? I'm interviewing you now. So when you seen the first video, Ken, what did you say?
I was part of that generation. So if you look that way.
You say when you look back at it.
And when I look back at it, I was like, wow, we dressed kind of wild back then. And you know, not wild, nowhere near wild. It's just a different look. And I look at it now like, man, the cuts, the haircuts and everything.
Man, what I will tell you, what we had on still, I think we was kind of behind because I was looking at other groups like Jodeci. Yeah. They was wearing the boots and the baggy jeans. We wasn't wearing that. No. Dude. And so
Gerald had y'all.
I always protested. I ain't gonna lie. I always protested at what we wore. I never liked anything that we wore. Now the album cover was cool. It's cool with it was kind of conservative. But you know, I'm young, man.
You want to be urban.
Yeah, I was like 21, 20 years old. And so I wanted to be more, and then, you know, I was kind of from the streets.
But you know, right. But your sound wasn't.
From Levert.
Correct.
Because that's what we were doing. So
your sound wasn't.
It wouldn't have matched up.
It wouldn't have matched
so up. It was cool. Listen,
it was. I liked your sound. Everybody liked the sound.
No, I love the sound. Now, come on, you know what we produced off the first album. The sound I'm not mad at. The look I was mad at. But you know what? I played my position. Right. I played my position because it wasn't about me. You know, so I just suck it up. It was just my personal opinion.
Now, let's stick on this sound thing for a minute and Gerald and all of that, because I think Gerald Levert and you guys were creating a certain sound that was a Cleveland sound as well. It was unique because of the fact that, like you say, Jodeci's and those guys, they had their sound and the way they were going, and it was other groups that were coming out, Troop and all these other groups, but it was a sort of sound that you guys had, Levert had, that the OJs had. So, no, it was important that you guys did.
Yeah, because it was different sounds. You had the New Jack Swing.
Yeah, it was totally different sound.
You had like a New Yorkish sound because Puffy was coming with Jodeci. He was producing them, and they was doing that. And our sound was definitely more so like a traditional, soulful sound, R&B. And then we did try to interject some rap in it here and there because things was changing. It was like a real different time.
So you think with the way music is now, you think that sound could survive still today?
I mean, Written All Over Your Faces.
It's still out there.
I mean, I don't mean to shoot ahead, but I mean, is one of the most recurrent played songs is in mid rotation across the world,
and a lot of
consistently.
And that sound.
So that
still,
sound, it's classic. I mean, back then, that's classic stuff. That's timeless stuff that come out now. I mean, I'm not trying to hate on it,
and
but
that's not right.
It's not. I don't think that it's some stuff. It's some things here and there that may sustain, but I mean, it's nothing like that '90s era is the last of the great.
Of the great, yeah.
Maybe early 2000s, the last of the great era. Because we was spinning off the '70s soul, and then we put a little pizzazz with the gospel. You know what I'm saying?
And that's what I was saying when I started off. When I said I ended up putting on. I heard Written All Over Your Face, and then it just like, let me put it on, and I just started just really flashing back to that time. It was just like, damn, music was just so great back then, and the times was just really, the music was great. Times was kind of crazy and chaotic, like you say.
It was. It was. I mean, you got to figure back then, the changing of black culture, the crack era.
It was crazy.
And you know what I'm saying? It was to be like, not the beginning, but our neighborhoods was going down.
Going down.
But the music was
amazing.
So you got people getting high, tripping, but they having fun. They getting high, but they got some good music to get high with, I guess.
Right. But it
sad
was
to say.
It was sad to say, but the music was great.
And the rap, all of it
was good. All of it was good.
That era is cold.
So let's go back. How did you get to? I want to get to when I first met you. So now you guys went in New York and you did your photo shoot, and now you're getting ready to start touring a little bit and going places. And the first album is about to hit. And what was the first song that you thought was going to be the #1 song on that album?
Written All Over Your Face.
You from day one, you knew that was going to be the song.
Day one, when we did it in the studio, we knew, because if you ever let it go to the end, we talking, we like whoop whoop whoop.
Right.
We knew the feeling of the song was going to be amazing. So right before you met me, we were on a tour, on a promotional tour. We had just actually got back in Cleveland the day before to do, when we go into what we talking about. And so we had been all over, like down south or whatever. And I never forget, our last stop was in Charleston, South Carolina. Then we came back to Cleveland, and that's when you first seen us. So we had been rolling, but we was promoting another song that wasn't really doing all that great. It hit the charts though.
Which one was that?
Come On, Let's Do This.
Really?
Yeah, Come On, Let's Do This, man. Ended up going like 39 on the chart. So at that time, I'm like, I done made the Billboard chart. That's a success to me.
Right.
But to the company, they like, nah, man, we got to figure out what we going to do next. So at that time that we came back to do the Glenville Festival, where you first seen us, we were going back and forth with Atlantic Records, like, what's the next single? And we were like, Written All Over Your Face. And Sylvia Rohn, the senior vice president, was like, nah, that song ain't going on.
Really?
Man.
Really?
She didn't believe in it.
Wow.
I hate to even have to be saying this stuff.
Wait, but that's
I gotta tell the truth.
That's how
Sylvia did not think the song would have the sustainability to go big on the charts. So we had to fight for Written All Over Your Face. Literally, like, Gerald came to, he's like, man, what y'all think? Written All Over Your Face, man.
Now, I'm going to tell you, like I was telling you in the opening, when I first met you, it was the Glenville Festival. And I had an opportunity to grow up in the greatest community in Cleveland, where my horn at is called Glenville. Well, Latifah ain't on his job.
No, there you go.
He's just not on his job today.
There you go. He just did it.
There you go.
Yeah, you didn't hear the first
I heard
time.
the first time. I'm messing with him.
Oh.
So growing up in that community, I had an opportunity to be on the very first Glenville Festival and festivals after that. And I was, the greatest job in the Glenville Festival was always if you was working in entertainment. Because entertainment had all the good people who was coming in. And back then, like you said, it was all kinds of people coming into the festival and all kinds of things. So to have that job, to be working in entertainment, to be on stage is where you want to be. And I was on stage when Levert came and did the Glenville Festival, when Sean and their group came out back in the day.
Yeah.
And then when you guys came.
Right, so I was there at that same show,
at that same show,
and wanted to be on the stage
Yep.
with them.
I was sitting either on a speaker or I was standing there trying to tell people, hey, you can't come up here.
Right.
One of those, I had got one of those positions, but I remember when you guys came, because like I was saying, you guys were dressed in all white, which was the real big thing, because it's like, this dude's got on all white, and
the stuff we had on was hot as hell.
it was hot. It was hot. It was hot.
Man, it was hot. We had on white.
Y'all had on all white, and y'all sung y'all songs, and I remember Gerald singing that "Written All Over Your Face," man. And
yeah,
y'all
we wanted to try
rocked
it. We wanted to try it on the crowd. Like, man, well, on this Glenville Festival show, first of all, getting to that, we did do the Glenville Festival. So the first year, that one year that you seen Gerald and them, I was there. I was a young teenager looking like, wow, I want to be up there. Then we came as a group by ourselves, like just as a local, as some lokes. We came and did the show. But this time when we came home, people were aware because our song, Come On, Let's Do This, was on Video Soul already. So people had seen us on BET at this point. But that single was fading out. And we wanted to test run written. I'm like, man, we got to do written, Gerald. You want to come out. We have to do our thing. It's so cool. I never get here on a gray short set with some white shoes.
So y'all just made it on this. So y'all, we're going to just do it.
Yeah, we're going to do it. Like,
Wow.
Gerald's like, all right, we're going to do it. And so we did Come On, Let's Do This, like another song. And then we did Written All Over Your Face, and Gerald came out and it killed. You was
Killed
there.
out, John. You
Killed it. And
Killed
so I
it.
was just like, see, I'm telling you, this should be the next single.
Wow.
We knew, man, because,
Wow.
man, it's rare that a group can introduce a new song
Wow.
that people have never heard,
Wow.
and it has the impact like that song did.
Oh, and just think about it. Remember back then in Glenville Festival, it was at that big field on St. Clair. So
Right
we
next to the
Next to the YMCA. So we can say it was easily almost 7,000-8,000 people.
packed, man.
Easily. Easily.
I mean, you know what? At that time, when we did the Glenville Festival, that was the biggest crowd
Yeah,
that I ever performed
exactly.
in front of at that time.
Yeah, that crowd used to go from one end of the thing all the way to St. Clair. So I remember they used to get numbers like after they said maybe 10,000 people beat them walk through there that day. So that was a huge crowd, and they rocked it. Y'all rocked that one. So
Killed it, bro.
I remember
I'll
that.
never forget.
So that and from that standpoint, then what made y'all then from there, Gerald say, all right, we all in on this one, I take it.
Well, the label, see, back then the labels were so in control, man. Like the stuff that we wore for the photo shoots, they would determine. The video directors, they would choose. So you were really, and Gerald, I used to feel like Gerald had the power, but I soon came to find out, like I write in my book, that Gerald, it wasn't all on Gerald. He really had to work with the label. Some stuff we didn't get that we wanted, some things we did. And so we convinced Sylvia. She's like, all right, we're going to put it out. And boy,
and from there,
the rest is history. I mean, it broke the record for being one of the songs on the R&B charts for the longest to get to #1.
Wow.
And I never forget, we got to #2 finally after touring everywhere, doing Video Soul with Donnie Simpson and BET. We did the Apollo. We did Soul Train with Don Cornelius, Party Machine with Nia Peoples, and it got to #2. So we like, man, we was in like #3, #2, like 3 or 4 weeks waiting.
Wow.
But it was one monster that was up at that #1 spot that kept us, and that would be Whitney Houston.
Oh, that's
All
a
the
big
man
one.
that I need.
Yeah.
And we just was waiting. I was like, man, is this woman gonna get out the way?
Never.
And when, Whitney was Whitney. She
Whitney's
was powerful.
hard,
So
man, yeah.
we was just like waiting. But this show you how good the song was. Still stayed at #2 for like 4 weeks.
You and Whitney.
4 weeks.
Wow.
Waiting on Whitney to move.
Wow.
And then we had 2.
That's cool.
And then the day finally came. And Whitney moved on down out the way.
Really?
Written All in Face went up to
And you
number
stayed
1.
up. Wow.
We went to number 1.
Wow.
And we went to number 13 on the pop chart,
Which is good.
which was great.
Right.
Yeah, because we found ourselves doing some shows in areas where we like, it's only us. You know what I'm saying? So, and it was there. Like, our song was so hot that we were doing 2 cities a day, man.
Really?
Promotion. We would land in one city, go to the record store, sign autographs, do interviews, and then we jump right back on the plane, go to another place and do a promotion, do it for the radio. It was that hot. Every radio station wanted us to do their shows, like the outdoor shows, the radio shows that they give, their concerts. And man, I mean, we was on the move.
So what was your biggest crowd you performed in front of?
The biggest crowd, like as far as the most people?
Most people.
So many, man. I can't even. So many, man.
All right.
Big. But this was the most important crowd to me. It was my hometown.
Right.
And so it was bigger. Like, even though I was in other cities and states doing, when it came to something about the Glenville Festival, that shit was crazy, bro. It was big.
Well, and that's a home crowd.
It was the home crowd.
Oh, yeah.
But we had been doing crowds like that.
I think I'd be scared half to death to walk out on the stage. I couldn't even think about how you
Only
do that.
2 stages I was nervous on. Soul Train. I'm looking at Don Cornelius.
Now that's just like a studio, though.
Yeah,
right?
but it's
But
still,
it's
still, and you lip syncing too. You got to
Really?
make sure your lips is on time. By that time, we was lip syncing.
Right.
But I'm looking at Don Cornelius.
Well,
which is a
everybody lip sync on
big
Soul
icon,
Train.
Don
Right.
Cornelius. Just looking at him like whoa.
Yeah.
So, and then of course the most nervous, the Apollo.
Yeah.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
You gotta
Yeah.
have nerves of steel
You
to
gotta
be
have
on
nerves
that
of
stage
steel.
because you
Now
can
you
be a
guys
known
went
artist
as
and
the
get booed
Rude
on there.
Boys.
Huh?
Y'all went as the Rude Boys on the
Yeah, we was performing Written on Our Face, and our songs. Gerald came out. We killed the crowd at the Apollo. We came out
with
on
the
Soul
lady
Train.
all up front.
She was there, named Eva. Her name was Eva. That's her name.
Up there doing her
Eva,
thing.
Miss Eva came up there with the Jerry curl. You know, it wasn't good if Eva didn't
She
come up
didn't come
there.
up there, right.
She came up there for us. So Gerald came out. If you go on YouTube, you look at it, we killed it.
Okay.
We went on Apollo. You know, we killed it on Apollo. We killed it on Soul Train, even though it wasn't a crowd, but it still was.
Well, I guess
great.
to your point, like you say, it don't the big crowd don't matter because, like you said, when it was just you standing in front of Eddie.
I mean, the biggest
You
crowd,
say
most
that-
important crowd that I ever performed in was at the American Music Award with Black Men United.
Mm-hmm.
Now that, you're talking like, man, big. You're on the American Music Awards. So
Right.
that trumps everything.
Everything, right.
You know
That's
what I'm
what you're-
saying?
right.
But, you know, during that time, we were just starting, and we were just doing all the shows, going on Video Soul, BET. We was doing BET concerts because BET used to have, like, stuff that people didn't see on TV, big concerts. And
Right.
all the radio station outdoor concerts was huge, like Glenville Festival. So
Which iconic celebrity you met that you was like, damn, that's the
Stevie
one?
Wonder, dude.
Steve, you met Stevie?
Stevie Wonder, yes, man. That's a long story. I can't go in it. But I met Stevie Wonder first, and Gerald introduced me to him. And when he introduced me to him, Stevie's like, "Oh, the Rude Boys is written on loving face."
Straight up.
Yeah, he went and did his thing. I'm like, and I'm pulling on drum. I'm like, man, Stevie knows our song. He's like, Stevie knows everything.
Wow.
I'm like, man, and I never forget Stevie Wonder's like, man, yeah, the Rude Boys, I love y'all. He said, I got a new album I'm working on, Private Conversation. I want y'all to get on it. I got Boys and Men gonna be on it, and I want y'all on it too. And so I was like, all right. But Gerald's like, Stevie bullshit. I'm like, no, he ain't. For weeks, I was like, man, Stevie call you. He was like, no. I
Wow.
was like, call Stevie. He was like, all right, I put out calls. We couldn't catch him. We never got to work with Stevie. So that was the most important person. Then later on, Aretha Franklin, but that's later on.
Later on.
I'll tell you about it. But
At Gerald's funeral, I know some people who work for the city, so I ain't gonna use their names, but they work for the city, and they were helping all the celebrities come on in so that they can park. You know, they was giving them special parks so they can get in. Stevie Wonder's car pulls up, and he comes in, and Stevie Handler gets out and say, "Hey, Mr. Wonder wants to use the bathroom." You know,
Wow.
before he goes upstairs. And they was like, okay, let him go in. They had a little bathroom over there. It was like in the parking garage, and they go in there. The guy comes back out, and he says, hey, the light in there doesn't work. And he said, okay. So he tells the guy from the city, hey, man, the light doesn't work. So the guy goes on his
Stevie
phone.
can't see it.
So the guy calls on his walkie-talkie. He says, hey, you know, so-and-so, the light isn't working in the bathroom in here, and Stevie Wonder can't go in there and use the bathroom, man. So Stevie Wonder, the guy comes back on the he's like, man, Stevie can't see any damn way, man.
I knew
So
it.
just go in there and use it anyway.
Man,
and he's
that's
just like looking
crazy.
at him, and they looked at him. He said Stevie and this guy just bust out laughing, man, and they went
That's
in
a
there
good
and
one.
used the bathroom.
That's a good one.
And then they went on up to the
That's a
funeral.
cold story. right there.
That's crazy. But let me tell you about Written All Over Your Face, and because we're going to move on, because we want to talk about your coffee and how iconic your song is. And everybody knows it and how big a deal it is. It's that. So I got this thing with my daughter, and then everybody be listening to my music. They always talk about they don't like it, and they don't like it. Then
Really?
months later or a few weeks later, I hear them playing it. Be like, look, she done stole it anyway. She done took one of my songs. So the other day, about a week ago, she was playing It's Written All Over Your Face. So I thought maybe she ran across it on her line or just playing it. Then I heard her playing it again. And I said, oh, she done stole the song. So then I thought about it. I said, well, she know Joe Little's coming on the program. So maybe she doing her background. She done looked up Joe and said, oh, okay, let me hear what he's been doing. So I asked her yesterday. I said, hey. I said, so you know Joe's coming on the program tomorrow? She said, yeah. I said, okay. I said, well, you know he got a song on your list that you be listening to, right? She said, what song? I said, okay, so if you ain't gonna say it, I said, you know he got a song, because I'm thinking she gotta be bull crapping with me. Come on,
Right.
man. You know, dude coming on the show, you're doing this thing, I know you know. She said, what song are you talking about? And I said, it's a song he has on the show. You don't know his song. She said, I haven't looked at him. She's going through, we going back and forth. Then my wife finally yelled out the room, it's written all over your face. And she said, oh, that's him.
Really?
And I was like, yeah. And she said, I got it. So I said, where you get the song from? She said, I took it from a friend of hers. This
Wow.
dude was listening to it. She said, I heard him playing it. I liked it, so I took it from him.
Wow.
So just to let you know.
Speak volumes, a whole
Yeah,
other generation.
A whole other generation.
Couple.
A couple. And I told her, I said, yesterday, I said, you know, that song 30 years old?
Absolutely.
And she was like, wow. So she didn't even know that that's what you did. And so the whole thing today is just really probably mind-blowing and tripping her out. But I know that happened. And I was like, wow, that's so to let you know, man, you're right. The song has been going on. Me and Lateef talked about, hey, man, it's a big accomplishment to be able to do something and still, you know, be able to travel the world and still people doing it. I looked at the video of you singing it out there in the UK. The best part about singing these songs, and when they get old, me and T was saying, you know, you can get out there and you can say it's written all over you.
Oh, yeah.
And everybody know the words.
Oh, yeah,
Everybody
man.
singing. And I was surprised by that when you got there. First of all, I looked at the room and saw how many brothers was in the room out there. I was really surprised by
packed out.
that.
You
I
seen
was
that
packed
pack?
out. I was like, wow. You just got back from the UK?
Yeah, just got back from the UK. It's like my, fourth time going. But every time I go is all love, man. And I love the UK. I love London, England. It's just it's a great place. You know, it's cool. It's different. But just the people out there, the fans they don't get us here in America. They don't get to see us all the time. So it's a big deal. You know, when you go out there and you get treated like royalty, like the place is. And, you know, I got to go see for this time around, I got a chance to go and see some sights. You know, so it was cool. And it was a great experience, man. It was a long flight, but you know,
That's a long flight,
I've
man.
been around all the world, man. So this flight's way longer than that, bro.
How long was that flight?
7 hours and about 50 minutes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I've been on flights way longer than that, like
right.
double that.
Okay,
You know, so,
okay.
Yeah, you go to Africa, you got to be on there.
Yeah.
A long time, bro. And so, yeah, just a great experience, man. A great experience out in the UK. Looking to go back for it. I think I might be going back again this year.
Okay.
For the year out, sometime maybe in June or July to do a show. So, loving to go out there because, you know, being an artist from the 90s, we get paid more out there too, man.
Yeah, I imagine.
They you know, and it's different. You know, over here they try to lowball you, but over there, it's good money, man, and it's good, and you get treated really great. And so, you know,
You got any music projects coming out? You doing any still writing and going producing some new music?
man, I've been putting out music up under Brother to Brother International,
Okay.
which is a label that's owned by my partner Mark Jenkins and myself.
Okay.
He's the president of the label. And we've been putting out songs since White Side 2018. We've been putting out records. So I got like 5 videos out there
Okay.
of songs that I put out. So I'm always currently working on music. Been, y'all go to YouTube and just put in Joe Little the Third. You can see all the current stuff that I got. But right now I'm working on my book, which is called Day of the Convincing Storyteller, which I'll be releasing before the year is out, along with a studio album to complement the book and an audio book.
So what's the name of the book again?
The Day of the Convincing Storyteller is a memoir of my life.
Oh, excellent.
A lot more, much more than what we talk about today. So, exactly. But I've given you highlights of the book. Actually, through this interview, all the things that you are hearing that we talking about is going to be in the book, and then some.
And you said you was going to do an audio book, and
yes.
And what was the other thing?
An EP, which is songs to go with the book.
Really?
The album. Yeah.
Okay.
So I'm doing that. I'm working on that, and just on Brother to Brother International, me and my partner's label, along with my my cousin, the White Side Show. I gotta give him a shout out. He's sitting over there. That's my right hand.
Okay.
He's with me everywhere I go. And just got a team behind me.
Let me ask you a question on the music scene in Cleveland. How hard is it to get through as an artist in Cleveland in the music industry?
Hard, because if you just stand in Cleveland, you're not really gonna get nowhere. You got to go to Atlanta. You got to go to L.A., maybe New York. You got to just go where you can be seen and heard, or this is the independent area. So you can put out stuff. You have to build your fan base, and you can get discovered, because it's independent. So it's on the artists themselves to break through, find a way to set yourself apart from other people to make something unique about you for people to gravitate to. And so that's what the music business is all about. It's a free-for-all. It's like the Wild Wild West. You can come up. You don't have to depend on the big labels no more to sign you.
Right.
So you can be in Cleveland and break through by way of building your YouTube channel, your IG, your social networks, and like blowing up the spot, spending some money into pushing your brand and your music, and it can happen. So you don't really have to be, kind of scale back on that. You don't really have to be in these spots, but it would be better, because back in like 2011, 2012, I left Cleveland and moved to Atlanta and stayed there for quite some time. And that's where I got the Rude Boys branding back up to par to a certain place, which we still working on branding the Rude Boys and getting more shows and doing more touring. I'm doing a lot of touring on my own and with the Rude Boys. So, I'm the only original member left right now that's performing with the Rude Boys. So I got Kenny Miles with me, G. LeBeau, another guy named Black Rose that I've had this, he's been doing some shows with me also. He was part of Levert too, Gordon. And so, just keeping on pushing the brand, man.
Keep pushing the brand, and you still keeping it going.
Yeah, but that monstrous song, keep it going.
That keeps it going, man.
Yes,
that's all you need, man. That's all you need. So I appreciate you coming on the show, and like always, before we end the show, I'm gonna let you have this camera right here, man, to tell the people. Make sure you give them the website again, how they can reach to get all of your stuff, man. Make sure they got your IG, all that information, and tell people how they can reach out to you.
Yo, what's up? This is Joe Little of the Rude Boys, lead singer. This is my coffee company, Urbane Joe. This is my coffee. You can go to urbanejoe.coffee to get my coffee. You can go to my YouTube channel, Joe Little the Third. You can go to my IG, Joe Little Rude Boys Official. Facebook, Joey Beans. That's my name. If you Google Joey Beans, I'm the only Joey Beans with a Z on the beans that's gonna pop up. Joe Little the Third. Come check it out. Brother to Brother International is the label that I'm on and that I'm part of. Mark Jenkins is the senior, is the president. Got the White Side Show on my team always, my cousin. And we just doing what we do out here. We just out here trusting in the higher power and making moves. So that's what it do. One more thing. Just want to send a shout out to my lost brothers from the Rude Boys. Ooh. Larry Bingo Marcus, rest in peace. Buddy Edward Banks, rest in peace. And my brother Melvin Cephas, get well soon.
As you see, it's all over my face. I am happy that this brother took the time to come on my podcast. So, again, thanks you for watching, and we'll see you next week.
This is Strategic Moves with Kenn Dowell.